Justice Smith, Jabari for three and the win. Yeah! He got it!
We're here to Field Rocks News. This is Rocks Field Podcast. Of course, I am your host, LaShard Binkley. You can always find me on Twitter at Binkley Hoops. Find my written work over at Rockets on that side. Of course, I am a credentialed reporter covering your Houston Rockets and Rio Grande Valley Vipers. And on today's show, I want to give a quick recap of the Rockets' big win over the San Antonio Spurs. I want to give 3 reasons why the Rockets were able to come back and have their biggest win of the season, the biggest comeback win of the entire season. And they were able to do it last night as the Rockets trailed for most of the game. Pretty much 3/4 of the game, the Rockets trailed, and they were able to come back with a huge 111-106 victory over the Spurs. And more importantly, they were able to tie the season series at 1-1 as they continue to chase the San Antonio Spurs, who still lead the division, as they have 30 wins, and the Rockets just got their 26th win last night. And they're still trying to make up for having the less games in the NBA. And eventually, of course, like it always does, the schedule will even out, and we'll see how all that plays out. But on today's show, I wanted to give, like I said, a quick recap of the reason why I believe the Rockets were able to come away with this victory. And let's go ahead and get into it. And the very first one, like I said, the Rockets trailed for most of the game. It just seems like it was just going to be one of those games. Spurs led by double digits pretty much the entire second half, all the way up into the fourth quarter. And then that's when Sheppard finally was able to get some shots going, because a lot of Rockets outside of probably Kevin Durant and Alperensengun just could not make baskets. And that's when Sheppard showed up, especially in that second half. He had 12 of his 21 points in the fourth quarter. He was a spark plug. He almost single-handedly brought the Rockets back. Like I said, the Rockets trailed by double digits for most of the game. And then when Sheppard came in that second half, especially that fourth quarter, he just caught fire. He was making 3-pointers. He was playing some of the best defense he's played this entire season. I know a lot of people, especially in San Antonio, were giving the Rockets a hard time, especially last year, because Stephon Castle won Rookie of the Year, and then Sheppard, was in and out of line for the majority of the season. But then we saw in this game, we saw exactly why the Rockets wanted to draft Sheppard. Like I said, he struggled a lot last season. Part of it was just because he was a rookie. He was trying to get, up to speed, trying to, get used to the speed of the NBA. And also, he was just in and out of the lineup. He could never really get consistent minutes. But this year, when he is making his shots, he is a total difference maker for the Houston Rockets. And we saw that again last night. When he starts making shots, especially from 3-point range, he just opens up the entire court for the Houston Rockets, because now you can't just focus on Alperensengun, you can't just focus on Kevin Durant. You have to actually play the entire court, and that's exactly what he did. It opened up the court. Like I said, Sheppard had 21 points. He was 8 of 17 from the field, but more importantly, he made 4 3-pointers. He was 4 of 10 for 40% from 3-point range, and that is huge because the Rockets struggled a lot early in let's just be honest, they've struggled a lot pretty much since December 1st, really in January. Up until these last couple of games, they were the worst 3-point shooting team in the NBA for the month of January. But when you have somebody else that can make shots like a Sheppard, that really just opens up the entire court. And not only that, but you can't go too far without talking about Sheppard's defense, because I know that's been one of the biggest reasons why MA says that he doesn't play Reed a lot of the times because of his defense. But last night, it wasn't just the steals, because you can't just talk about defense and just talk about steals. Because a lot of times, a person can be really good at jumping passing lanes and stealing the ball, but they can also be bad on one-on-one defense or get burnt a lot of times. But Sheppard was just all over the court, playing really good defense, staying in front of his man. He blocked Champagne's 3-point shot in the corner, and by the way, Champagne cannot miss, especially in that first quarter. He was pretty much the main reason why the Spurs were even had the lead, because he made like 6 3-pointers in the first half, and the Rockets shut him down in the second half. That's going to be one of my other reasons why the Rockets were able to come back and win this game. But Sheppard was all over the court, and his defense was almost as impressive as his offense last night. I think that's something that needs to be said, because he does get a lot of grief, and a lot of people usually bring up his defense when they say a reason why they don't believe that he can be, a top-notch player or can make a real impact. So I don't want to just talk about his offense. His defense definitely played a big part of it. And he also, of course, he did have the stealing, he had the block. So like I said, he was just kind of all over the court. It was a game high plus 15 for the Houston Rockets in a game where the Rockets only won by 5 points. So that tells you like what his impact was on the game last night. The fact that he was a plus 15 and only a 5-point victory for the Houston Rockets. So Reed Sheppard absolutely was the number one reason why the Rockets were able to come away with this victory last night. Number two, what I want to talk about is something I mentioned just a few minutes ago was the three-point shooting and just overall defense that the Rockets were able to come away with in that second half. The first half, Spurs got whatever they wanted. They scored 39 points in the first quarter, which was a season high for any opponent against the Rockets in the quarter. They scored, or at least in the first quarter, they scored, like I said, 70 in that first half. They were just getting whatever they wanted. Like I said, Champagnie was a big reason for that. He made 6 or 7 threes in the first half. He just, I haven't really watched as much Spurs, of course, throughout the season, but apparently he's been their best three-point shooter all season. He's already had a game where he had 11 three-pointers. It seemed like he was going to break their franchise record that he set on New Year's Eve or day that they were saying. Looked like he was well on his way to breaking that, and he only made 1 3-pointer in the second half. The Rockets absolutely shut him down in that second half. And just the overall defense of the Rockets was just totally different in the second half. Sparked by Reed Sheppard. I don't want to forget Clint Capella. Clint Capella, even though his stat line may not show it, 6 points and 2 rebounds, he brought an energy the Rockets did not have in that first half at all. He, even though after he got dunked on by Wemby, he still was making plays. He was getting offensive rebounds. He was rolling hard to the basket. He was, when they tried to get him in the pick and roll, he was jumping the ball handler, forcing the ball out of his hand. And he just did a great job overall on Wembanyama outside of that dunk in the second half. And he was a big reason why, not because he was making shots, just because of his overall energy. Because the Rockets didn't have any energy at all. I mean, they were looking like they were just dead in the water. And then when him and Reed came in that second half, they really turned the game around. So I don't want to go too far without talking about Clint Capella, but the Rockets were able to hold the Spurs to 36 points in that second half. They only scored 14 points in the fourth quarter. The Spurs had more points in the first quarter than they had the entire second half. That's how good the Rockets defense was in that second half in last night's win. And the Rockets were able to outscore the Spurs in that second half, 51-36. And of course, that was a big reason why they would come back and win that game. And for the Rockets, it really just comes down to when they're playing with energy, when they're playing with passion, they can compete with anybody in the league. Of course, when they're making shots, that kind of goes without saying. But the Rockets are going to win or lose on their defense and their rebounding. And for a long time, they weren't playing defense in the first half. The Spurs were beating them on the boards last night throughout the game, and they turned that around in the second half. And like I said, their defense was one of the main reasons why they were able to do that. I mean, not only just, like I was talking about with Clint Capella and Reed Sheppard, Kevin Durant played some really good defense on Wembanyama. The entire Rockets team played some really good defense on Wembanyama. And that was another big reason why they were able to come away with that victory, because my third point why the Rockets were able to come back was their defense against Victor Wembanyama. Wembanyama, of course, is one of the best players in the league. They just announced that he's an NBA All-Star starter, even though I know some people in Minnesota were upset about that because he won the tiebreaker over Anthony Edwards. But of course, Victor Wembanyama is already one of the better players in the league. He's still extremely young. He's going to be one of the best, if not the best player in the not too far distant future. So to be able to hold him to 5 for 21 from the field, it was his worst shooting performance of the season. He ended up with 14 points. But like I said, 5 for 21 from the field, 0 for 7 from 3. Kevin Durant talked about after the game, what they wanted to do was force him to be a jump shooter. Because, of course, when you're 7'6", 7'7", whatever he is at this point, when he's around the rim, there's not too much you're going to be able to do. The guy can dunk without even leaving the ground. So if you're able to force him into a three-point shooter, force him into taking tough fadeaways, that's when you can at least slow down Wembanyama and force him into really tough shots. And what the Rockets like to do, and what they did a lot last year, was they had Dylan Brooks guarding them because they like smaller guys to be able to kind of get up under him, and he can't use his speed. Because a lot of times you saw when Sengun was on him or when Clint Capella was on him, he would just try to take him right to the basket off the dribble. And you can't do that when you got Josh Okogie or Dorian Finney-Smith or Tari Eason. When you got any of those guys on you, Then he has to try to be more of a back to the basket, trying to post up players. Even though he's gotten stronger, he's still not nearly strong enough to back down a guy like Tari Eason or even Josh Okogie. And we saw that a lot last night. And also, like I said, Kevin Durant did a really good job a few times. He was guarding them as well. And also Alperensengun, who always gets up for playing Wembanyama. We kind of already know this. He had his best game of his career against Wembanyama either last year or the year before. Sorry, I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments. He had his best game of his career against Wembanyama, and when he was guarding him, he did a really good job too. He did a good job of not fouling him. He did a good job of staying in front of him and, like I said, making him take those tough shots. So their defense on Wembanyama was huge last night because once Champagnie stopped making those crazy threes, it's kind of reminded me of the Golden State game and Buddy Hield when he went off against the Rockets in Game 7. When he stopped making those threes, nobody else on the team can make a shot. He made 8 threes. The Spurs only made 14 threes as a team. So that's only 6 threes for the rest of the team out of, let's see, because Champagnie took 16 shots. So the rest of the team was 6 of 34 from 3-point range. So that was a huge reason why. Just the overall defense in that second half, holding them 36 points after getting up 70 points in the first half is a big reason why the reason a Rockets were able to come back with their biggest comeback win of the season. And kind of just some honorable mentions real quick before I wrap up the show. Like I was telling you earlier, of course, Reed Sheppard, Clint Capella. I can't forget Jabari Smith. Jabari Smith has some big shots in the fourth quarter. He continues to definitely turn it around. He was 7 for 13 from the field with 17 points. Like I said, he had a couple of big mid-range shots. He had a big 3 in the fourth quarter, just all big shots that was able to help the Rockets come back. Also, like I was talking about with Alperensengun's defense earlier, he almost had a triple-double. He had 20 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists, and also 2 blocks. Can't forget the 2 blocks for Alperensengun. So, of course, he played a big reason in the reason why the Rockets were able to come back in this game last night. So, just overall, a really big game because you had already lost to the Spurs early in the season. If I'm not mistaken, you have 2 more games left with them, so you still have a chance to take the season series. You're trailing them in the standings right now, so every win against them is huge. The Rockets play them again next week at Toyota Center. It's going to be a late game. Hopefully, we don't have any issues with the clock or the rim that would make it even a later game because, like last night, they had a issue with the rim twice, once before the game, once during the game when the Rockets were making that big comeback. And man, that would have been something if that was the reason why the Rockets' momentum stopped and they lost that game. Because the Rockets were making a comeback. They had the Spurs on the rope, and all of a sudden had to stop the game to fix the rim again. So hopefully we don't see that. We saw clock malfunction a couple of weeks ago where Jonathan Alexander, the Rockets in-arena announcer, had to announce the time every 5 seconds, which is one of the weirdest things I've ever witnessed live since I've been going to basketball games. So hopefully we don't have any clock malfunctions or rim issues the next time the Rockets are in Toyota Center. They're back in Toyota Center next week. They have a couple of games on the road. I think they have 3 games coming up on the road. The first 2 are against Philadelphia and Detroit, and that's going to be another back-to-back. One other quick thing we found out yesterday is that Steven Adams has a grade 3 ankle sprain, which is probably one of the, if not the worst ankle sprain or ankle injury that you can have. Timelines kind of vary, but it's looking like at the earliest he could be back for some time in the playoffs, and that's if everything goes well. So I don't want to speculate whether he's out for the season, just like I don't want to speculate with Fred VanVleet if he's out for the season, because I'm not a medical doctor or medical expert, but it's definitely a very severe ankle sprain, unfortunately, for Steven Adams. So it was definitely good to see Clint Capella step up, because the Rockets are going to need him for the rest of the season because they're not going to have Steven Adams. And you kind of saw the issue with that at times throughout last night because the Rockets were getting out-rebounded, something you rarely see with Steven Adams in there. So definitely hope the best for Steven Adams. Hopefully he comes back sooner rather than later. So that's going to kind of wrap up today's show as usual. I appreciate all the support. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and welcome in if this is your first time. If you are a subscriber, I always appreciate the support. I always appreciate everybody that clicks and likes the video. And let me know down in the comments, what did you think about tonight's win? Did you think the Rockets were dead in the water in that first half? Do you think this is the biggest win of the season? And let me know down in the comments, what do you think, or who do you think was the bigger reason why the Rockets were able to come back with this victory. Like I said, as usual, I appreciate support. Make sure you check out the next episode of the Rocket Fuel Podcast.